So this past week I got an email saying that I'm no longer on a waiting list for a community garden, that I had been assigned a little tiny plot, which is 10 square feet by 10 square feet. I was really excited because I've been on this waiting list since I think 2017. So it was not a short wait. I was kind of surprised actually. So it's Saturday morning and I got my keys, I was shown my plot, and I think this is going to be a fun little project. I actually am really busy this summer, so I think it's a lot to take on, but I'm going to try to keep it relatively simple this year. And since I'm kind of registered and signed up and I have this space, I'll just maintain it, and I know that in future years I'll really love having it. So I came here this morning and saw that, as you can see, my plot already has irises, which is really exciting. I don't have irises at home, so that's something new. Definitely keeping them. And I also found some little cilantro coming up, volunteering from another year. And I think some dill, green onions. So there's a couple of things here left from previous owners. And yeah, so this morning I got a few little plants that I can get started. I didn't know if it was going to be sunny or shady here, and it turns out it's a really, really sunny, dry spot, which is good because I have water right there, but I didn't have a lot of time to prepare. So I picked up a few plants just to get started, and I'll probably come back next week and continue. Okay, it's about an hour and a half later and I've planted a few things, so let me show you. This is week 2 of my community garden, so let's see what's changed. Still have the irises in bloom, my lavender from last week. Planted some daisy family plants that are perennials. This is all cilantro. My ground cherry got a little wilted because it wasn't watered enough. Put in a blueberry, gooseberry. Planted a lot of flower seeds around there too. I have dill, Habanero Pepper, Marzano Tomato. This one is an indigo rose cherry tomato, Greek basil in between, and a sunrise bumblebee tomato. Market more cucumbers. All right, so it is exactly 3 weeks since I got my community garden plot, and I thought I would do an update. I've pretty much planted everything. I've planted tomatoes, I've planted peppers, I've planted herbs, flowers, cucumbers, peas, and beans, and a few fruit actually. So things are actually starting to grow, and I thought I'd show you around. You can tell the irises are already done, but the lavender, which is down here, and some of the, I believe these are black-eyed Susan, they've started to establish themselves, so they'll be coming up later in the summer. This is the cilantro that was already here, and it seems to be in everyone's garden. I'm leaving it because my pet guinea pigs love it, and it could actually be harvested now. It was clearly a volunteer. It's doing well, and I think I mixed in flower seeds with this, so I have something else going on there. Back there is my little fruit corner. I have strawberries, ground cherries, gooseberries, and blueberries. All have been pretty well established since I planted them 2 weeks ago. Down here I have a few flowers coming up. I have a nasturtium. This might not be its favorite climate. It's kind of hot and sunny and dry. Next to it I have a Roselle, which is related to okra, and that can be used to make tea when it blossoms in the fall, so I'll see how well it does here. These little things you see on the ground coming up, they're miscellaneous flowers. There's the ground cherry. I've got 2 plants there. Strawberry in the middle. I don't know what kind of strawberry this is. It's not actually flowering. This is my blueberry bush. It's actually set some fruit. It'll do better next year, but I might get something this year. This is the gooseberry, same thing. It should be pretty productive next year. This year, I'm not sure it set any fruit, which is fine. That's normal. I have a little thyme plant, which is nice because I actually didn't manage to get a thyme in my garden at home. And I also have sage, which is loving this hot and dry environment that it's in. I have some dill over here, which was clearly left from someone else. That's doing pretty well. Along this edge, you can't quite see them coming up yet, but I planted a variety of herbs. So I'm going to see how they do. Most of them were experiments. I have like holy basil, St. John's wort, and vervain. Let's see, I just put in this tomato that's a little scraggly. It's a grape tomato. For here, I have a habanero pepper, which I put in 2 weeks ago. Seems to be doing well. I have some Greek basil. This is a San Marzano tomato, which I've never grown before. Seems to be doing well. Down here, I have little tiny carrots coming up. My husband helps me plant those. So these are cucumbers. Back here, I have beans coming up. Peas, which was risky because I think it's a little hot. I don't think they're going to be super happy producing. Green onions back in the corner that were here when I arrived. A chive plant I put in. My sweet potato is doing well. In this little corner, I planted some lettuce. Some of it's coming up, but once again, I think it's a little too hot and sunny here. So we'll just kind of see how it does. I might have to fill in this area with something else. So that's it. That's my little update. Hello. Okay, so I think it's week 4 now with the community garden. And I don't know if there's been huge changes since last week. I pretty much have it planted out now, except every time I come, I think of, or I can see like a new space where I could plant something. So I did add 2 things today. I added 1 more tomato and the weirdest item, which I'll show you. It's an artichoke. Now, artichokes are not supposed to be able to grow around here. I bought it from a greenhouse. It was started. And I'm just going to see what happens this summer. We do have hot, sunny, warm summers, so it might grow. I'm familiar with them because they grow where I used to work, or I used to go for work, which was in Monterey, California, and they prolifically grow around there. And the climate I'm in could not be any more different than that, so I'm really not sure. But I thought it'd be a fun experiment since most of the plants I've put in here are pretty much like guaranteed successful plants for where I live. Blueberry loves it here. Blueberries love full sun and it's doing really, really well, so I'm happy about that. Bunch of flowers still coming up, so those should fill in later in the summer. I did notice today that I have a few volunteer tomato plants. Now these are quite small. I don't know if they'll produce this year, but since they're volunteer plants like that, especially tomatoes in this area, tend to grow really, really fast. So even though they just started, I may actually get tomatoes from them. So I'm just going to let them go, kind of see what happens, and I'll support them as they get taller. I planted some herb seeds down here last weekend, and I see they've germinated. I'm not sure if they'll do well or not. Cherry tomatoes, various tomatoes. These tomatoes in the back are actually flowering. They were pretty far along when I bought them and planted them, and it's fairly early for a tomato to be flowering where I live. However, we have had a lot of warm weather, so I can see why they would think it's time to flower. In the back there, I have pole beans, and I just bought that cage so that they can start to grow up. And as they grow taller and taller, I believe I can even tie them up to the fence behind here. cucumbers are coming along, but I will need to start to prop them up somehow. I'm not sure how I want to do that. I have some bamboo poles. Back in that corner I have peas next to the chives and whatever onion was there. Down here I have, well, the sweet potato over here, which isn't doing too much. This is the tomato I just put in today. I think this is my last tomato, but I had this kind of blank spot where nothing was coming up because I planted some, I think it was roquette or something, which really does better in cool weather, so it wasn't growing. So this is a Rapunzel cherry tomato. I've never tried it before and figured I could try it now. This, I don't know what it is. It looks like a flower to me, but I could be wrong. I'm just letting it grow to see what happens. It was here when I arrived. I have a bit of lettuce coming up in this little corner. I don't know if it will grow up or not because it's a little warm for lettuce, actually. Echinacea right there. Have a few more flowers scattered in there. Cilantro, of course, and some carrots. I thought I would do an update on the urban garden, or the community garden. It's a super hot and sunny day, so I'm not going to make this too long, but it's mid-June and things are growing incredibly fast, so I'll give you a quick tour. Alright, first of all, the volunteer cilantro has taken over. I just harvested a bunch of it, but you can't tell because there's still plenty left. Over here, I have a bit of a mess of different things. I think most of these are flowers that are coming up from seeds I planted. So I'm leaving most things unless I know they are a weed alone. Ooh, hey, I have a ground cherry. As you can see, a few of the little ground cherries are coming along. I do have a lot of weeds. I pulled a bunch of purslane, I believe it is, out this morning, but it's pretty hot, so I can't do it all today. Some of it's also clover, which doesn't bother me quite as much. That's a nitrogen fixing plant, I believe. There is my blueberry bush. My gooseberry's fine. It's establishing itself. I have a couple of volunteer tomatoes coming up, and I'm not quite sure what to do with them. They're a little bit on the small side. I don't know whether to leave them because they're going to be crowded out by the flowers anyway. I didn't know they were there when I planted flowers. So yeah, I don't know whether to leave them or not. Here I have herbs, which are doing fine. Thyme always does well, sage. And this was the volunteer dill, which is doing great. I just harvested some of that. And as you can see, there's a cute little red ladybug on it this morning. I planted some holy basil seeds and I think those are coming up, which is great. I love them. I have flowers on all of my plants now, which is actually fairly early for where I'm located to have tomato flowers already. This is a red cherry tomato. I have flowers almost coming along on the Habanero Pepper. Back there, I have a San Marzano tomato with flowers. Back here, I have a huge indigo rose cherry tomato and a truss of tomatoes coming, which again, super early, but we've had a lot of hot weather, so I think the plant was just ready to go. I have my little Greek basil tucked in there and some zinnias that are quickly growing, as you can see. Over here I have Lebanese cucumbers that I've propped up with some bamboo and twine. They're doing all right. They've got some flowers, as you can see. I have bush beans in front. They're doing okay, except they're getting eaten by something. I'm not sure what that is, as you can see there. Back there, I have, I believe that's buckwheat. Maybe it's the first time I've grown it. It seems to be doing well. I'm just kind of leaving it. It's an experiment. I have peas over here, which are getting too hot. I don't know if they'll produce because this is really past pea season. Sweet potato, which is slowly growing. Another tomato. This is, I believe, a Rapunzel tomato. I just planted it, I think, 2 weeks ago. It looks like it's about to get flowers. I have some, I believe this is arugula mixed in with the cilantro that was here. I should probably harvest that today. And lettuce. Lettuce is coming up. I forgot what variety this is, but I did try to plant heat tolerant varieties. This is a 4 seasons lettuce. I don't know if they'll really come up because those really need to be planted earlier in spring. My artichoke experiment is doing nothing. I feel like this one hasn't done a single thing since I planted it a few weeks ago. But like I said, it's just an experiment. I've never seen artichokes grown here, so that's my community garden update. Other people have incredibly tidy gardens, as you can see the one next to me. But just starting out this year, I think for me, it's just an experiment to see what grows the best, and then next year I can plan a little better. So here we are. It's a very sunny part of the day. As you can see, everything is in full sun as well. This is the cilantro. It has bolted, as you can see. I do see a few honeybees on it, so I hesitate to pull it all up because the little flowers seem to be attracting pollinators. But I think I'll have to clean it out somewhat. This is a melon plant that I actually got for free, and I stuck it in last week. It looks a little dry, so I'll be watering that in a few minutes. This is a combination of the flower seeds I scattered around. This right there, this is a honeywort. This is a calendula. That's a calendula. That's a nasturtium right there. And the rest I either don't know. I believe this must be weeds because I don't recognize that. That looks like a weed. I'm gonna need to pull that up. Those are some sunflowers back there. Those two are sunflowers, so they're getting big. That's great. This is a Cosmo, that little feathery plant. This is my ground cherry, which has spread out all over the ground, as its name suggests. It's almost a ground cover. Oops. Looks like there's quite a few ground cherries I could pick. Oh, that's a zinnia back there. I also have 2 volunteer tomatoes in here. One seems to be flowering already, so I think I need to stake that up or maybe clear the weeds from underneath it. All right, looks like I have plenty of dill. Once again, I wonder if this is the same. I see a ladybug every time I come here. Where is he? Yeah, there it is. I see a ladybug on this dill every time I come here. I wonder if it's the same one. This is a red cherry tomato, still flowering. Back there's my San Marzano. I need to take care of that. Looks like it needs some more support. Bell pepper, which does not like to be dry. Oh, hello butterfly. I've got a bush bean coming here. Zinnias back there. Ooh, I've got tomatoes. My first tomatoes. These are a black type of tomato, and look at that. Okay, I've got to get these tomatoes under control. You can tell I haven't been working that hard to weed because this is my neighbor's garden. It's so much, he must come a lot more often because he doesn't have as many weeds. I'm jealous. Great. Anyway, back to mine. That's another flower. That's honeywort. Here's some bolted cilantro. I wonder if my guinea pigs will eat it. These are some heat-tolerant mustard greens that I planted about 2 weeks ago. Ooh, this is a lot of arugula I need to harvest. Wow. Then I've got an echinacea right here. That seems to be coming along. I've got a bit of lettuce back there. I'm surprised it's growing in this heat and sun. This is my sweet potato. Definitely an experiment of the year is that sweet potato. I've got, not sure what this purple one is, but it appears in other people's gardens, so I kept it. There's some peas. Okay, so this is my little cucumber patch right here. Wow, interesting. I wonder if I have any cucumbers yet. I actually had a cucumber at home this week, yesterday. Don't see one quite yet. Definitely a lot of flowers. This back here, I believe, is buckwheat. It seems to be flowering already. That's really pretty. I just grew that because I had some seeds. I've never tried it before, so Wow, that's a cool flower. I'm not sure what that is. Let me see. Ah, that's a, this is a black-eyed Susan. Here's my artichoke. It's doing absolutely nothing. This red plant, I'm not sure what it is, but it appears in other people's gardens, so I kept it. Last but not least, here's my gooseberry, just establishing itself this year. And next to it is one of these volunteer tomatoes. This one's getting blossom, so I think I'll try to figure out how to take care of that today. So that is 6 weeks into my community garden space that I really didn't plan for. I just kind of scattered some seeds and plants around. It is just past the summer solstice and I just arrived at my garden on a very rainy day. I just wanted to take a look at how everything was doing, and I thought I would show you because it is completely overgrown, which is awesome. It's really fun. So here it is, and you can see over here the cilantro has completely bolted and gone to seed. And everything back there is so big. I can't believe it. We've started to get a lot of rain, so that has obviously helped. Let me see up here. What is this? Oh, my artichoke seems to be alive. Nice, nice. Like maybe it's doing something. Sunflowers have gotten way bigger. Wow. I have a blueberry. Look at that. Oh, I've got another blueberry over here. That's so exciting. Hey, the blueberry worked out. Next year there should be even more, so I'm excited. Here's one of my volunteer tomatoes. I staked it up last week. It's flowering, so I'll get to find out what kind of tomato that is. Ground cherries have become ground cover, and so have the strawberries. Wow. Okay. Over here, this is a borage. They kind of grow like weeds around here, but they're great, so obviously keeping that. More cilantro, those irises. Ooh, look at the lettuce. Hey, that's not so bad. I still don't know what this is, but it feels like something that belongs, so I'm not pulling it out. Plus it's shading the lettuce, allowing it to grow. This looks like my roquette went to seed, because that white flower is arugula or roquette. Oh, Rapunzel tomatoes flowering. Look at that sweet potato. It's gotten huge and starting to crawl around. Let me go back in this corner. Wow. Okay, chives, onion in the corner there. So these are my peas. Oh, I've got to pick some of these. Wow, look at that. They're flowering. I thought it was maybe too hot for them, but we've had slightly cooler weather this week, so that seems to have been very good for them. Awesome. Okay, the cucumbers have gotten massive. I don't even know if there are cucumbers in there. If I find any, I'll show you in a minute. Oh, hey, some of my beans are flowering. Look. So these are, I believe they're called sunset runner beans. These are bush beans down here. These are dragon tongue bush beans. Looks like they're starting to flower. That's honeywort, that's a flower. Here are all of my little mustard greens. That looks like some alyssum, probably from the flower seeds I scattered around. I have some tiny tomato plants that I had popped in the ground to see if they would survive, and they did, but they're still tiny. They're not flowering, so I don't know what they're going to do. I have a few carrots mixed in. I actually planted a ton of carrots in here. Not a lot came up, but weeds came up in the carrot patch, so I've been trying to keep those weeds down. And then here's my tomato plants. They are all over the place. My black cherry tomatoes are ready, so I'm gonna have to pick some of those. I have a few zinnias in the ground there that are getting bigger. Oh, that's the sunrise bee, I think. Wow, the tomatoes are huge. And I have not been pruning them because I only come by maybe once a week. Let's see. Oh, the dill is doing well. I'm going to cut some of that. That's going to bolt soon, I think. Oh, look at all the flowers I have on the little Habanero Pepper. Great. This is an herb I put in last week. It's Vervain Aficionalis, so European vervain. It looks like it dried out this week, but shot up some new branches. Not sure what that means. Maybe it didn't transplant very well. Maybe got too dry. But it's alive. I'm really happy to find that plant. It's a perennial and I hope to establish it here. And then, ooh, the sage has gotten huge. Little insect on it. Okay, I hope that's a good insect. Thyme is growing. Is there more flowers down here? Flowers, flowers, flowers. Wow, oh, nasturtium. I'm about to have a nasturtium. That'll be my first one. Exciting times. Strawberries. Another ladybug. A lot of ladybugs here. Okay, that's it. So that's the garden update. First half of the summer. All right, well, this is kind of wild, but I tended to it the best I could.
Yeah, if anybody says anything.
I think what would have happened if we hadn't done some of that tying it up, they would have rotted on the ground. Yeah, there wouldn't have been very many. And it, like, the plant is producing a lot. It's just that, you know, they would have rotted on the ground.
There are a lot of them.
They're pretty. What kind those are?
Look at all these red tomatoes. See red on the ground.
Yeah, if it fell, I mean, if you're picking them and they fall, it's one thing, but if they're already fallen, I would just leave them. Oh, that's still on the vine. I guess you could pick that. Wow. There's so many flowers. This is done like super well without me even paying attention to it.
Oh, this one.
This tomato acted like a vine and just grow all the way up this fence, up there, along with these wild grapevines. It's currently mid-September and I'm back to coming to the garden at least once a week. Now, for personal reasons, I actually had a 6-week stretch in late July through most of August when I couldn't come here very much at all. I think I came twice in a 6-week period. So this community garden definitely went really wild and crazy, and the flowers kind of took over and they've still taken over. So I have definitely learned a lot this growing season, and I am really excited to plan out next year's garden because I think I can do a lot more with the space, and I think I'll just be a lot smarter about it next year when I can actually plan it properly. I definitely want to grow things like squash and plan out where I'm growing the tomatoes a little bit better, but I will still put in some flowers because it's just been amazing how many pollinators I've been getting. So the season's definitely winding down. I don't think I have a lot more to harvest. The tomatoes are slowing down. Some of the flowers are slowing down. I put in some greens, but I don't think they grew just because they got crowded out by the much bigger plants that are here. Here's the last of the tomatoes. Oh, there's still quite a few though. Okay, I need to get busy picking these. I actually don't have too long to be here today. Wow. And then this Vervain did really well. This is an herb I really wanted to grow. I'm so excited. I need to let these flowers go to seed though, I read, because the plant itself may or may not come back next year, but the seeds should. And yeah, I have a lot of calendula still. Bachelor buttons are slowing down. I've enjoyed those. Wow, these zinnias have been amazing though. And just look at, I've had so many pollinators here. Really, really beautiful. And I need to save the seeds for these little pear-shaped yellow tomatoes. Okay, got some work to do. It's currently approaching the autumn equinox, and yeah, it's very late September. I was actually editing this video, well, the videos from earlier this summer, this past week, and I thought I would do a proper kind of wrap-up, end of season, letting you know kind of what happened to some of the plants that I was talking about a lot this summer. And the funny thing is, as I was editing, I actually had forgotten about some of the plants because the flowers and tomatoes had overtaken so many of the plants that I had put in really, really early this summer, and I had forgotten about them. The video reminded me. So I thought I would do a little recap of what happened to a few of the plants, and just kind of show you what the garden looks like at the very end of the season. Next year I would like to plant some fall crops, so that would be things like kale and spinach, and I would like to just leave some room for things that would grow or continue growing in late September, early October. I didn't do that this year, so I really don't have anything that's going to do much else beyond you know, what I've already shown you. So yeah, next year I'll be sure to include some fall crops, so I have something to look forward to in September, October. But anyway, this year I would say things are pretty much wrapping up for the season, so I'll just show you, you know, what happened. As you can see behind me, I am still getting flowers, which is really great. I love flowers. I think they'll slow down by October, but it's really nice to have them for now. Actually still getting some tomatoes, so that's pretty cool. But those are pretty much my last things out of the garden this year, I think. Among the perennials I put in, the echinacea did really well, as you can see. I'm looking forward to having that back next year. It's super pretty, and it's also native to this area, so I love doing that, supporting the pollinators with that. This, I believe, is supposed to be soba, but I'm not really getting soba. I just got flowers out of it. Still getting tons of zinnias. So here are some of my best performing tomatoes. I had these little basic red tomatoes, did really well. As you already saw previously, the San Marzano tomatoes did amazing. They're still going. I don't know what to do with all of these. My freezer is filled with them. I talked about this herb that I had really wanted to grow, and it has done really, really well. This is the European Vervain. I wanted to also show you my sage. My sage is amazing. I tried to grow this in a container on my balcony and it didn't do anything. Well, I mean, it survived, so that was about it. But here it has really thrived, and I'm going to use this for Thanksgiving. So if you remember, I talked about a volunteer tomato that just came up on my plot. I didn't know what it was. That ended up being these little yellow pear-shaped tomatoes, and these are so delicious, so I'm going to save the seed and I'll plant them again next year. It'll probably come up anyway. It'll probably reseed, but just to be sure. They were really good, and they're still producing. So one thing I forgot and I only remembered when I was editing the video, that I had put a habanero pepper somewhere down here, and I don't think it survived because I haven't been able to find it. I don't see it. It either got eaten, but I think the more likely cause was it was just basically snuffed out by the San Marzano tomato. So that's how it works. I will space things out a little better next year. Another perennial I put in was these black-eyed Susans, and as you can see, they did super well. Cosmos did really well. Those will keep blossoming through September here, so they're a nice little addition. I wanted to show you the blueberry did get a little sunburnt this summer when I couldn't come to the plot as much as I would have liked to. So kind of in that 6-week stretch when I wasn't able to come, it got, I think, too dried out and maybe just scorched by the direct sun. I think it'll be okay, but I won't know until next year. We'll see if it comes back. It did put on a lot of new growth, if you can see underneath there. So the ground cherries got swallowed up by all the flowers, but they are still down there and they're still going. I wasn't able to harvest the ground cherries very easily, but there's a branch of one of them. I guess I did put in one fall crop. I believe this is kohlrabi. So that is coming along. That can be harvested soon. So another update is the artichoke. The artichoke really didn't do anything, as you can see. It may have been crowded out, but I think the more likely cause is this just isn't artichoke growing conditions. So, you know, I'm not in California, and that's what happens to an artichoke if you're not in the right climate for it. I had my lavender do really well. It's actually going to blossom again. Lavender on occasion will blossom again here in the fall. So this is my sweet potato plant. It really spread out, kind of like a ground cover. It took over this whole corner, which was fine. This is where I had the peas, but I took them out quite a while back. And I'm not sure how to harvest sweet potatoes, to be honest with you. I really don't know what I'm doing. Like, are they down here? Oh yeah, I feel one. Oh, it's very small right now, I think. I just harvested a sweet potato. I had mentioned my holy basil that I had planted from seed, and here it is. It's a nice, big, healthy clump of it. And I hope it reseeds itself. So that's it. That is a year in my community garden. Well, a growing season in my community garden. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you're also growing in a very small urban gardening space, and I hope you got something out of this video. So feel free to share your own urban garden experiences in the comments down below, and I will see you next time.